The Lagos Red Line is the second metro line in Africa's largest city. Within 1 year of operation, it went from seemingly empty to overpacked. This line recently celebrated its 1st year anniversary, and I decided to take you along to see how the Lagos Red Line has grown and evolved over the last year. To make it more interesting, I decided to show you what it's like during Monday morning rush hour and what it's like the other way around on Friday evening. During the trip, we'll also stop at every single station, reviewing the stations on key metrics, so you can decide for yourself which of the stations are the best and which ones need work. This is the most in-depth video you would ever see about the Lagos Red Line. That's why you need to sit back and relax because things are about to get spicy. Welcome to the Lagos Red Line. It's been in operation for a couple months now, 1 year to be exact, and this is perhaps my first time making this journey this early. The first section of this trip from Abagado to Ikeja and onwards to Ikeja was very hectic because it was very full. I initially traveled to Abagado from Oshodi station, and the journey there was relatively empty because at this time of the day, demand is usually from Abagado to Oyingbo. But when I got there, I wanted to get off and get back on, but the queue was almost the entire length of the train, and as people got in, they literally ran to find seat. The train was filled to capacity, and this is the last train cabin. Some of those in the middle and towards the front were even more full. It was incredible. I could barely shoot, I could barely move, I could barely breathe. It was just that hectic. This goes to show how important this piece of infrastructure has become to thousands of people. Between Ikeja and Ikeja, it was pretty uneventful. More people got on, but almost nobody got off. It wasn't until we got to Ikeja before some people got off. I don't know why the lighting at this point was really bad. I kept trying to adjust, but it didn't give me the picture quality I was looking for. Anyways, welcome to Ikeja station. A handful of people got off and the train became more comfortable, but not as comfortable as it needed to be. Thankfully, I finally got a seat when someone got off at Ikeja station. Actually, I was sat because I was one of the 4 people in the train, and then I had to give it up to this elderly lady. But then she got off in Ikeja, so I sat back down. The views here were understandably industrial. You will know that this section of Lagos, the part between Oshodi and Ikeja, was initially zoned to be industrial, so it feels very industrial. At this time of the day, the sun was getting hotter and it was very yellow in a kind of way made it look like I color graded this video. Welcome to the Oshodi Red Line station. Surprisingly or unsurprisingly, lots of people got off at this station. By the time we got to the station, there was still a handful of people, but by the time we left, there were more seats than people, which suggests that the demand is especially high between Abagado and Oshodi in the morning, and it's not hard to figure out why. This was the 3rd trip of the day and the last one in the morning from Abagado into the city. The journey between Oshodi and Mushin station was definitely more comfortable for me. Simply reporting my experience, it's a very amazing piece of infrastructure that is changing lives. People that use it in the morning are not openly complaining, but the experience can definitely be better. The ACs struggle to circulate when lots of people are there, and it's just basic common sense. Lots of bodies, lots of people moving around. The ACs took a while to catch up. If you are still here, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It's the easiest way for you to support the work I'm doing out here. Thank you as you do so. Please click the button. The last chunk of the section between Oshodi and Mushin was very industrial. Lots of businesses, factories, warehouses, and it just had a general manufacturing production vibe to it. We spent a few minutes at the Mushin station while people mostly got off, and before we knew it, we were on our way. The experience between Mushin and Yaba was relatively short and comfortable for me. It took a few minutes, and before you knew it, we were already in Yaba. There were fewer people at this point, and most people were just chilling and waiting because Yaba is the penultimate station on this line, at least for now. Welcome to the Yaba station. My first time ever on the Lagos Red Line. I started my journey at the Yaba station, and I was a few minutes from missing my train because I had no idea how to actually access the station. I could see it, but I couldn't enter because the entrance was at the other side of the road via a pedestrian bridge. We are now on our way to the last station on the Lagos Red Line, or the first, depending on where you start your journey. I I particularly like this section of the trip because if you know Lagos, you know that Ebute quote unquote is perhaps the main area for Lagos historically in terms of railway. Passing through this side, you get to see a lot of infrastructure supporting the Lagos Red Line and more importantly the National Rail. The National Rail station for Yaba is a couple 100 meters from the Lagos Red Line station, and you can see it from the station. It's always surreal passing through this section of the rail, especially when you go under the Ebute station. I do not take being able to travel on a city metro for granted. One of the underrated perks of sitting at either end of the metro is that you're able to get a closer look at some of the behind the scenes, the infrastructure and control center that essentially helps the train move and keeps this service alive. I moved closer as we got closer to Oyingbo, and I did not know what I was looking at, but I enjoyed the views and it was exciting. Actually seeing someone that worked for the service come, open the door, go in, check something and come outside. I tend to geek out over stuff like this. If you'd like to support the channel financially, consider joining the channel as a member or giving a one-time super gift. It really helps and goes a long way. Thank you as you do so. Welcome to the Oyingbo station on the Lagos Red Line Metro service. This was a morning service, but not an early morning service. I got to see what it's like for people commuting into the city in the morning for business, pleasure, or both. The experience is fair considering the realities surrounding this service. I definitely see why lots of people use this service on a daily basis. It was my first time traveling from the Abagado station in the morning, and the experience was insane. It wasn't the first train of the day. Although I took it later in the morning, there were still lots of people, the queues were insane, and as you can see for yourself, it was an experience indeed. This trip showed me another side of the Lagos Red Line and its impact on the lives of Lagosians. I've always looked at the Red Line as a nice addition, but lots of people now use it as a part of everyday life, and I'm sure they can no longer imagine a reality without this service. When the journey began, I couldn't film as easily because there were lots of people on the train, but that itself showed that this is a service that works and changes lives. The Lagos Red Line is not only changing lives, but it is impacting the quality of life for many positively. We are now at the Abagado Red Line station in Abagado, Ogun State. This is the only station that is geographically outside Lagos, and it's one of my least favorite stations because it wasn't purpose built and it shares the terminal with the Lagos-Ibadan rail service. I could not review the bathrooms at this station because the bathrooms are in the main terminal and the Red Line operations do not use the main terminal. It was actually closed, which is unfortunate because I needed to actually pee while watching this video. The layout is actually quite simple, nothing special about it. It makes sense for the national rail service from Lagos to Ibadan, but for the Red Line it leaves much to be desired, and I feel the Ogun State government really needs to give its people a proper station for Red Line operation. What do I love about this station? I love the fact that it exists and there are operations for non-Red Line and non-national rail. You can actually get connections on the old locomotive train at this station. Other than that, I don't think there's much to it. Welcome to the Ikeja station. It's the first station in this video where we get to see the uniform design language. This terminal design is replicated across multiple stations on this line. I like the fact that it gets the job done without being too flashy. The bathrooms at this station are felt relatively well over the last year of operation. You know how public toilets are in our country, they don't really stand the test of time. Bathroom at Ikeja station has done relatively well, but there are some issues that need to be fixed. The proliferation of hard water stains on certain surfaces. The station's design is boxy and functional. It's certainly not designed or built to be flashy. It focuses on functionality and getting passengers in and out in as little time as possible with improved efficiency. I can't complain, I really cannot. The last time I visited Ikeja station, there was still significant construction going on, and I love the fact that I can see what many stations on this line look like during construction, sort of like a throwback. If you've enjoyed the video so far, there's no need for you to add a good thing. Why don't you share it with somebody that you feel might benefit from this video? Moving on, let's go to the Agege station. The Agege station is the second on this line that features the familiar boxy design. You can see how similar it is. Once again, it gets the job done and it's easy to replicate. The bathroom at this station is similar to what you find in Iju. It has been able to keep up over the last year, but signs of wear and tear are beginning to show, especially stains from hard water. Maintenance work is required sooner than later. The Agege Red Line station is a bit different in the fact that it has to also accommodate the nearby operations of the Agege National Rail Line. This is what should be done in Abagado, a separate station for Red Line operation, right beside the main one. I love the views from this pedestrian bridge at the Agege Red Line station. You can see the Lagos airport in the distance, as well as planes as they approach for landing. Beautiful views all around. The next station takes us closer to the airport, and that's the Ikeja station. This station's design is one of the unique ones. It is unlike any other thing on this line, and I believe it's because of the future plans to connect this line to the airport via this station. In my experience, the bathrooms at this station were the nicest. They weren't the largest, but I couldn't find any significant discoloration on most of the bathroom infrastructure. I don't know how they've been able to achieve this, but maybe they need to share the secret with the other stations. The Ikeja station layout and design is wildly different. It is more open in a sense, where the main terminal building or the main loading area is more exposed to the elements. I don't know how to explain it better than that. I love the fact that this train station is being designed to be much more than what it is today, and it is also a part of a transport interchange where you can come out and get onto a BRT to most parts of Lagos. I mentally divided these stations into a couple segments. The first, we have new design, and this features the stations that have the uniform design like Agege, Iju, and the likes. I'm a big fan of the design and I feel like it gets the job done. Next is multi-use. Multi-use stations include Oshodi, which serves other purposes, and as you might know, Oshodi Terminal 3 serves lots more purposes than just the Lagos Red Line, as well as Abagado. Unfortunately, Abagado shares the station with the Nigerian Railway Corporation for operations to Ibadan and Abeokuta. And next we have the different stations. Yaba and Oyingbo have different designs, and I don't know why their designs are different. I tried to find it online. Oyingbo station is quite different from the others, and I think I can figure out why this is the case. Next is Ikeja. Ikeja's design is unlike almost any other thing on this station. It's wildly different, and I believe it's because there are plans to connect the Red Line today. There is nowhere in Lagos quite like Oshodi. That's why we are visiting the Oshodi Red Line station, located in Terminal 3 of the Oshodi Transport Interchange. This is another unique station that was built years before the service began operation. There is a bathroom on the ground floor of Terminal 3 and there's one on the upper floor. I visited the one on the ground floor and it is expectedly the most dated bathroom on this line. This bathroom has seen better days, but judging by its age, it could be way worse. The Oshodi Transport Interchange has a wildly different layout because it supports multiple forms of transport. You can get a BRT in another section of this terminal to most parts of Lagos when you get off your train. Intermodal transport connection are the way forward. I quite enjoy the fact that the Oshodi Transport Interchange does a lot of things and it hasn't even gotten to its full form. Every couple years, we see another aspect of this station get built, and I'm excited to see what the future holds. What do you know about the Mushin Red Line station? It's the third station on this line that features the uniform design that we've been raving all about in this video. There isn't much to say about this Mushin station that hasn't already been said about Iju or Agege. Welcome to the bathroom at the Mushin Red Line station. Similar to other stations, it has held up nicely, but as you can see, issues are beginning to spring up here and there, and they are easier to fix now before they become larger. The Mushin Red Line station isn't at Mushin bus stop. When you get to the Mushin bus stop, you need to get a keke or walk a couple kilometers to where the station actually is. Other than that, the layout is fairly straightforward, and I'm sure you're already familiar with it by now. I love the fact that this Red Line station has opened up a different part of Mushin. You and I might have our stereotypes about this part of Lagos, but this station is changing lives and providing more opportunities for people to do better and have better quality of life. Travel a few minutes down the line and you arrive at the Yaba Red Line station. This is another unique station with a design that is unlike almost any other station on this line, and I can't seem to figure out why. It is also technically under construction, at least certain parts of it. The bathroom at the Yaba Red Line station is another fairly well-maintained one. Most stations have well-maintained bathrooms, but this is nice. Probably my second favorite after Ikeja. As mentioned earlier, the design is unique, but it also has a sense of familiarity. It feels like almost every other station on this line, and navigation becomes more intuitive and common sense. I don't have any positives or negatives on this station. It gets the job done. Before you leave, please consider supporting the channel however you can. It can be as simple as clicking a button or two. Just support however you can. Thank you as to do so. The first time I ever traveled on the Lagos Red Line, I started my journey at the Yaba station, and it was a bit of a hurdle finding my way in. I like the fact that alternative routes into the station have been opened up, making navigation easier. Oyingbo is the last station on this line if you are coming from Abagado, and the first if you are starting your journey here. We return to the familiar boxy design that we've spoken about multiple times in this video. What do you think of this design? Do you like it? Enough about the design. Let's check out the bathroom. I almost forgot to film while I was in here because I actually had to use it when I came in. I had gone out, joined the queue, and then I realized, oh, I forgot to shoot the bathroom. Rather than me telling you what it's like, what are your opinions on what you can see? Do you like the state of the bathroom? I wanted to know whether you are still paying attention. You can obviously see that the design of this station is not the usual boxy terminal. It feels more like the Yaba station. Did you catch it when I tried to tell you that it was a boxy design? The Oyingbo station has 3 floors of usable space, and it is going to become more important in the future if and when the Red Line extension goes ahead. It will be the first station connecting to the new line, but until then, the Lagos Red Line is an amazing service, but this does not mean that it doesn't have its issues. It would be unfair of me to tell you about the positives without telling you about some of the things that can be improved. First and foremost, more frequencies, especially during rush hour. Using the Lagos Red Line at certain times feel like you are being packed like sardines into a can, and I feel like this can be improved with more frequencies during rush hour. And then increasing the speed. I understand why increasing the speed might be a bit difficult because the tracks are not protected throughout the entire length of the line. But 15 minutes to travel 27 kilometers feels like a missed opportunity. It can definitely be faster. I'm not talking about slashing the speed in half, but it can definitely be faster. Off-peak pricing. If more frequencies are going to be introduced, or if you are traveling the other way during the peak period, I feel like you should be allowed to pay less. It doesn't make sense to pay much when you are off-peak, and this might actually improve ridership. I also believe that track policing should be improved on this line. Put people whose jobs are to ensure that nobody is on the track. I understand that this is being done, but it can be done better, especially at choke points like Oshodi and the likes. Everybody knows that commuting on Friday evenings is not pleasant, especially in Lagos. So we're going to avoid the Friday rush by traveling on the Lagos Red Line from the Yaba station to the Agege station. Come on board with me. The first station on this line is the Oyingbo station, and I joined at the second station, which is Yaba. But unfortunately, most of the seats were already taken, and the few remaining seats were taken by those that use this line frequently because they knew where to rush to, they knew how to navigate their way. And to be honest, I prefer standing because it gave me a better vantage point for my videos. We'll be traveling from Yaba to Mushin on the first section of this trip. We won't be traveling the entire line. It was golden hour, it looked beautiful. I can't take that from it. It just looks very nice outside. Some people were sat on the ground, some people were standing, some people were lucky enough to get the seats. It was just a calm experience, and you could see the tiredness in people's eyes after a long week. We safely arrived at the Mushin station, waited for a couple minutes, picked up more people, and we're on our way to the Oshodi station. If you remember a couple minutes ago when we did the trip the other way, now it's the opposite. The closer we get to Abagado, the more the train fills up and the tighter it becomes. So we picked up some people at the Mushin station. I sat down on the floor at this point because I wanted to get all types of angles, and it wasn't too packed outside in terms of traffic. The road was relatively free for a Friday evening. Remember how a large chunk of the passengers in the morning got off at Oshodi station? Well, many of them got back on in the evening, and so many people got on the train that it was very, very packed, and we all had to squeeze ourselves, which is one of the key tenets of public transit. It doesn't have to be the most comfortable, but as long as it gets the job done in a decent manner, then I'm down for it. A few minutes of boarding and we are ready to leave Oshodi station. The trip from Oshodi to Ikeja was relatively uneventful. Yes, there were more people on board, but that didn't really change much for those of us already standing. It was a simple experience, and most people were generally respectful. Yes, people were talking on their phones, talking to each other. Some people were playing music loudly or watching movies from their phone, but at the end of the day, nothing really out of the ordinary happened, which is a good thing in public transport. When nothing noteworthy happened, then you've had a good enough ride. I love the fact that it was golden hour at this point, and as the sun set, it added to the experience. There is no better testament to how important the Lagos Red Line is to many in the city than seeing so many people at the Ikeja station rushing and trying to grab a spot on the train. These people use this line almost daily, and they know that going the other way, they'll probably not get somewhere to sit, but it's still better than the alternatives of taking yellow buses. The Lagos Red Line currently changing lives in more ways than one. We are now traveling from Ikeja station to Agege station. Beyond Agege stations, there are two more stations, which are Iju and Abagado station, but for the sake of this trip, I would be alighting at the Agege station. It just makes much more sense for me to get back home stopping here. Agege, similarly to Yaba, has multiple stations. One is for the Red Line and the other is for the National Rail. So if you are going to Ibadan or Abeokuta, you can get a ticket or a train seat from here. That being said, welcome to the Agege Red Line station. One of the most exciting things that I loved about this station is that it is directly on the flight path to the Lagos airport. So most, if not all, the planes that go to land at the airport pass through here. So I got to see nice views of some airliners. I'm a big fan of the design at Agege station, like I mentioned earlier, and I quite enjoy the experience. My trip during the evening rush showed me another part of the Lagos Red Line, because in the morning, getting a ride from Abagado to Oyingbo is almost impossible. The queue is much, but in the evening, it's the other way around, showing that the trip generation is mostly for people living in and around Ogun State. I feel like if you can, you should definitely travel on the Lagos Red Line, even if you have no reason to. If you're a Nigerian living abroad and you're going to be at home anytime soon, definitely take out the time, get a cowrie card, and travel the length of the line to see it for yourself. I'm sure you can already tell that the train outline for the seats is not ideal for city metros, but I understand that it's also done for a reason. They are using what they have to get what they want, but I hope newer trends and more modern rolling stocks are coming sometime soon. With that being said, the current rolling stock gets the job done uneventfully, and that's as much as most people can ask for. Why don't you consider clicking on the video on screen right now? I made it specially for you, and it's similar to the one you just watched. Until the next video, your friend from the Ukodo YouTube channel wishes you love, peace, and prosperity.